Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् हरि ओम. On behalf of Chinmaya Setukari wing of Chinmaya Mission Mumbai, I welcome all of you to the second session of Ancient Wisdom in Modern Parenting by Dr. Sunita Shankar. Request everyone to please keep yourself on mute throughout the session. Before we start the session, I would like to brief you all about the activities and the classes we conduct in Chinmaya Mission. I think by now, who are not new to I think already attended the last session of Dr. Sunita Shankar. You must be aware of the about the introduction of Chinmaya Mission. So I would like to this session, I would like to brief you all about the activities which we conduct at Chinmaya Mission centers and the private homes of Sevikas, so that you can avail this opportunity for your kids as well as yourself. Puj Gurudev always used to say, catch them young, and our motto at Chinmaya Mission is maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. We have this Shishu Vihar classes for the age group of 3 to 5 years, Bal Vihar classes for 6 to 15-year-old kids, Chinmaya Yuva Kendra for 16 to 20 years, and Chinmaya Setukari for 29 to 50 years, and Devi group for the senior people. So anyone who wish to know more about all these classes, you can reach out to us on the group so we can help you out. Now, without wasting much time of yours, I would like to invite our esteemed speaker for today, Dr. Sunita Shankar, to take over the session on topic helping children develop mental well-being skills. Dr. Sunita has done her PhD in clinical psychology. She has around 25 years of experience working with people who have mental health problems. She has been associated with Chinmaya Mission since her childhood and derives her strength through the teachings of Vedanta. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita, for being here with us today. Over to you, Dr. Sunita.
Thank you so much, Vinaya, for that introduction. Am I audible to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to request all those of you who can keep your videos on, please keep your videos on, because sometimes it is demotivating to speak to just cameras. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. So the last time, those of you who were not there, maybe you can refer to the YouTube recording that is available of the last talk. Last time we spoke about parenting styles, the different parenting styles that are that each parent adopts to parent their children. We spoke about the authoritative parenting style, authoritarian parenting style, the permissive parenting style, and we saw how the authoritative parenting style is the best one because it does not aim to psychologically control the children. Its aim is to bring about behavioral control. And we saw the distinction between behavioral control and psychological control, and how the parenting style of where authoritative parent is able to balance out in their management, where they know when to control and when to give freedom. We also saw how autonomy is so important in the bringing up of a child. This is something very important, so I keep on repeating this, that parents, especially Indian parents, have to realize that seeking autonomy is an inherent part of human beings. As human beings, we like our autonomy. So when a child is around, you will start seeing this right from the age of 2 and 3. When they start walking, they will want to put together their own toys. They will want to try their own thing. These little acts are acts of seeking autonomy. And when they become teenagers, when they're around 18 and 19, when their individuality starts developing, they will actively seek autonomy. And that is when the huge tussles between parent and the child begins. because the parent does not feel ready to give the child the autonomy that the child needs. The parent is scared for the child, and the child is naturally seeking the autonomy, which is a natural desire of the human species. We spoke about all of this, and today we are going to look at the section 1 of mental health skills in children. Mental health skills, there are many. So the reason why I use the word mental health skills, it's very important to remember that emotional management, mental health management, all of these are skills like any other skill. Like how you learn to swim, you learn to play the guitar, you learn to cycle. If you're trying to learn an instrument or you're trying to drive a car, you have to learn it. It's a physical skill where somebody teaches you how to do it. Step by step, you learn the procedure of it, and then after that, you practice it, and then with practice, you master it. This is how it happens. Similarly, in mental skills are also skills which can be learned, practiced, and mastered. Now, why is this so important to know? This is important to know because most of us think people who are able to manage their emotions well, their mind well, are just born with these qualities, and the rest of us, the lower beings, are just destined to suffer. But that is not the truth. That's not true. Not everybody, most people are not born with ability to manage their emotions very well. And the ability to manage emotions or manage your mind not only depends upon your genetics and your personality temperament, it also largely depends upon the kind of family environment that you have had in your childhood. So we cannot control all of this. So as a result, not everybody has the capacity to manage their mind very well. But the good news is it is a skill and it can be learned. So we can teach your children how to manage their mind, right? And when I say practice, the word practice is extremely
Anika, we
important.
are actually not going
Okay,
to have
somebody needs
fun
to
so that you,
mute themselves
if you
when
are held up
talking.
for whatever reason, I would like you to take this step and ask for the help so that we can progress.
Somebody
In
needs to
spite
be
of not
muted.
going there, if you're going to sit at the end of the day and not having achieved your work.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, someone.
Thank you. Okay, so the reason why the word practice is very important. See, practice is the opposite of automatic behavior, of a habit. Habit is something that automatically comes. Like when you wake up in the morning, you automatically go and brush your teeth. You don't have to every day morning think how to put the paste on the brush and how to brush. It just happens automatically. You don't even think, your brain is not even required. It looks like a reflex action. Similarly, those people who have been driving for many years and they go to the same location every day to their office, they sit on the car on the driver's seat. Sometimes they're daydreaming and they reach their office. And they don't even know, if somebody asks, was there traffic on the road? Was it raining? Or did you, did you see this shop? They won't remember anything because they were busy in their head. The brain just, it just rode itself and landed there. These are automatic behaviors. And how does a behavior become automatic? By regular practice. So practice means it has to happen deliberately with a lot of effort. There has to be very clear intention. And when you're putting that effort, it will be stressful because you don't have any neuronal pathway for it in your brain. So you won't like it. Your brain will tell you, I don't want to do this. This is too stressful for me, but you still have to do it. Every time you are finding it stressful, that's because, or you're not liking it because your brain does not have the pathways for it. And last time I had told you that you can go and read up on neuroplasticity to know how the brain grows new neurons and changes its neuronal pathways when you learn new behavior. So when we start talking about mental health skills, remember that none of this will happen unless we practice. That's the key word. Okay? And also, among human beings, there is this belief that, okay, if I have to learn to play a sitar or, drive a car, I have to practice. But when I have to learn to, when I when it comes to anger management, I just have to make up my mind and from tomorrow morning I should not be angry. No, it doesn't work like that. You can keep making up your mind for 50 years. In the 51st year, you'll again get angry. It doesn't end with making up the mind. You have to literally learn how to manage that anger, step by step, follow the procedures, and practice it every day, like how you practice to drive a car, even though you couldn't differentiate between the clutch and the brake. You have to learn it, practice it every day, right? So just by intending, you're not going to suddenly become emotionally better. Okay. Now today what are we going to see? So there are multiple types of mental health skills. I have chosen two. One for today and one for the next one, because these two are the most important ones. So today we are going to speak about emotional management. Very, very, very important. See, none of our schools just download information on children. When we send our children to school, they come out very well informed. But all that information is of no use, because when I'm facing the world, my information has very limited use. What is important is how I deal with people, how I manage my emotions when I'm around people. If I don't know how to be calm and manage my emotions, then all my information and knowledge is of no use. And unfortunately, schools don't teach it. So it becomes the duty, and the primary duty, the whole responsibility falls on the parents, because you cannot outsource it to the schools. Right? And why is emotional skills so important? There was a very famous psychiatrist called Dr. Viktor Frankl. You can, those of you who have read the book, what's that book he has written? Now, tip of the tongue, I'm not getting the name. He was in the Auschwitz concentration camp, and after, when he came out, he wrote a book, and now I know the name of the book. I can't get it in my mind, and it'll come. That time I'll tell you. But he says, is something very beautiful that he said. He said, between a stimulus and your response, there is a gap. And in that gap lies your freedom. Now, most of us don't know how to use that gap. And because most of us, our gaps are so small, the minute we experience a stimulus, we immediately react. Because what is that gap? That gap is about managing your emotion. If you know how to manage your emotion, you will be able to make the correct choice. Your choices will not be based on your emotions. See, there is something called logical reasoning and there is something called emotional reasoning. Okay? What is logical reasoning? Logical reasoning is evidence-based. There is an evidence, and therefore, like for example, it is cloudy, and whenever the clouds are looming in the sky, a past experience, verifiable experience has shown it's going to rain. Therefore, I will carry an umbrella. Okay? Or I'm walking on a particular street of Bombay, which is known to be dangerous. There are unwanted elements on that street. There have been many people who have reported a lot of chori and smuggling, burglary and all of that on that street. I have enough evidence, and therefore I will not go alone after sunset. I will not walk on that street. This is logical reasoning. Emotional reasoning means what? If I feel good, it is good. If I feel bad, it is bad. If I walk on a street and I suddenly start feeling anxious, I will say, oh, this street is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because I'm feeling anxious. If I go somewhere and I say, oh, this is a lovely place. Why are you feeling lovely? Because I'm feeling good. This fellow is a very nice fellow. Why? Because I think I'm getting good vibes. Now, don't trust your vibes all the time. Though vibrations speak louder and they speak more than words, but this is very important. So what happens if you are an emotional reasoner and your emotions largely influence your choices, then that gap is completely misused. You don't use that gap well. Therefore, it is very important to be logical reasoners. There is another very important, very nice saying which I like very much, and this is from our scriptures. It says, this is Karma Yoga. There is a lot of freedom in the choices that we make, but there is no freedom from the consequences of our choices. There's absolutely no freedom. We have freedom in how we react to that consequence, but we don't have freedom. The consequence will come, and this is where we have a problem. We don't take an effort to make the right choice, and when the time to bear the consequence comes, we cry, oh, God is so unfair. Right? If my choices are influenced by my emotions, then it is important and rather imperative that I manage my emotions very well, because my life is nothing but a series of consequences of the choices I have made. So I don't have a choice but to manage my emotions. There is no choice. Therefore, for children, emotional management, if you teach your children how to manage their emotions, and if you bring up emotionally well managed children, I think you have done complete justice as a parent. Because in my clinic, I see that it doesn't matter if a child has high IQ, goes to multiple classes or not, or whether he goes to a municipality school or an international school. None of this matters. What matters is he able to manage the consequences, the situations in life. These are the people we know that they will do well. Right? So emotional management is imperative. And even if our scriptures, if you read the Gita, one of the first things, those of you who are studying the Gita, or those of you who read the Gita, you will see how Arjuna had a meltdown. There was a complete panic attack. And Krishna let it happen. I'll come to that, how Krishna handles it, and how our psychotherapy tells us the same thing today. We learned so much about emotional management. When we look at our ancient times, this is also about ancient time parenting. We realize so much of that we learn, whatever I'm going to tell you, is already written in the Gita. You study the Gita, you'll know what I'm telling you is right. Okay. So now, when we think about emotional management, the first question is, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to spend some time teaching you about emotions. And then only I'm going to say what to do. Now, what you have to remember when we speak about emotional management, if you as a parent are not emotionally well managed, you are not going to be able to teach emotional management skills to your children. As they say, in English, there is another saying. I love sayings, so I keep telling them. What you are is so loud, I can barely hear what you say. Trust me, what you are is very loud. What you said does not get heard so much, because visual impact and experiential impact is more important than what is said. You may say a lot of things, but if it does not get followed up by your actions, your child is not going to take you seriously. When I used to see children, I've had children come to my clinic and say, oh, doctor, don't worry, my mother will just keep saying, finally nothing happens. They actually said this. So they are very clear, they have figured you out. They're constantly watching you. So if you tell them that you're supposed to manage your emotion, or you tell them or teach them all the skills I'm going to teach now, they will turn around and see, well, but my mother is not doing it. Father is not doing it, because they learn a lot from observing. When we listen to children talk, when we see children react, 75% of what they talk, last time I have said this, what they say, how they react is what has happened in their house. You can figure out their parents by simply listening to them react to situation, because that's exactly what the parent will be doing. So if you want to teach your children how to manage emotion, it has to start with you. There is no other way. You can't say, mere liye alag rule hai because I'm an adult and now I have to somehow put you together because you're my child. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's hard work. Right? Parenting is hard. Now what I'm going to talk about is, what is an emotion? Now, what is the function of emotion? Forget emotion. Let's talk about physical pain. Why do we have physical pain? Can anybody tell me? And I'm going to once again request those who can keep their videos on, please keep it on. What is a function of physical pain? Why do we feel physical pain?
It's sort of a warning for the body to take care of the the area.
Yes, it's a warning for the body to, it's a feedback. So physical pain is a feedback. It tells us what is wrong, what needs repair, what needs attention. And if we don't feel physical pain, we may sometimes just die. So often, patients go to the doctor will say, oh, last stage terminal cancer. And the patient will ask, but how come I didn't feel any pain? If I had felt some pain, I would have come earlier. So physical pain is very, very important feedback mechanism. It's more important than pleasure. We can survive without pleasure. We can't survive without pain. Similarly, emotions also have a function. They're not just like that. Emotions are not for melodramatic entertainment. They have a very clear function in our lives. Emotions are feedback mechanisms. They give us feedback about our environment and our mind. They tell us what is going on. It's a messenger. Every emotion has a meaning. It's very, very, very important to understand this thing. Because what happens today in our culture today, we treat emotions as nuisance value. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel scared. I don't want to be angry. So the minute we feel any of these difficult emotions, the whole energy is in killing the messenger. Somehow get rid of that emotion. And I'll tell you why we do that. I'll come to that. So then we get rid, but you know how it is. The nature's feedback mechanism is excellent. You kill the messenger, it has 101 lives. It will keep coming back till it has given the message. It's like a painkiller. If you have a problem in your body, you can eat painkiller, 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 but every time you stop the painkiller, the pain will come back. Because a body will not stop giving the feedback unless you address the problem, the cause. Similarly, the emotion will not go unless you address the cause. It is a feedback, it is a messenger system. And we have to stop killing messengers. And today, because of Netflix and Amazon and all this internet, there are very nice ways of avoiding them. Like I will watch TV, I will get preoccupied with the internet, then there is substance abuse. There's so much of stimulus available to avoid and kill messengers and suppress them. But then what happens? One day, if internet goes away, all those suppressed emotions are waiting on the surface to burst out like a volcano. And we don't know what to do, right? So first thing that we have to understand, emotions are messengers. We treat emotions like, in psychiatry, in psychology, we say emotions is like fire alarm, right? A fire alarm is to tell you what is going wrong. Those of you who have heard a fire alarm ring, you will know it is not a pleasant sound. It's a very disturbing sound. But imagine if a fire alarm was one nice, pleasant lullaby kind of thing. Your backside will catch fire, only then you'll know something has gone wrong. If it was one nice music, no, it is supposed to jolt you out of whatever you're doing. Because human beings need to be jolted out of what they are doing. Otherwise, they will not pay attention to what is going wrong. We have a fantastic capacity to keep ignoring things that are right in front of our face. And we don't want to face what is wrong, so we keep on ignoring it. So what happens? We, if just like if the fire alarm was a very nice sound, we will not know only that something is burning. We'll keep saying neighboring building, neighboring house. It will not occur to us. It's my own kitchen. Similarly, difficult emotions are meant to be difficult. They are meant to be distressing. They are meant to be painful. Because if they don't feel painful, you will not be jolted out of your whatever you're doing in your life. So if you say, why am I feeling so sad? If you don't feel sad, you will never figure out what's wrong with your life. That is why sorrow has more value than happiness. Happiness in the relative sense, not in the spiritual sense. In the relative sense, happiness has entertainment value. But after a point, If only then, your life, something will be festering on the inside, you won't even know. So very, very important to remember is difficult emotions are difficult because they are meant to be difficult, they are meant to be distressing. If they are not, you will not be jolted out of whatever you're doing. And every emotion has a meaning. So, for example, sadness means there is a loss of something. I feel sad when I have lost something important to me, either a person or an object or whatever. Sadness comes when we experience loss. What is the meaning of anxiety? If I'm feeling anxiety or fear, that means I'm feeling unsafe. When something starts making me feel unsafe is when I'm anxious. Anger, when an important desire of mine is frustrated or blocked, is when I feel anger. Okay, jealousy, when somebody has something that I want, I feel jealous. Guilt, when okay, I'm in a place where electricity keeps coming and going, so that's why it's gone, but I'm audible, so I'll continue. Then guilt is when I have gone against my principles, I've gone against my own value system. That's when I feel guilty. Happiness means do more of it. So you won't feel sad when you won't feel sad unless when you're feeling unsafe. You won't feel anxious when you have lost something. You won't feel guilty unless you have gone against your principles. So every emotion has a meaning. Why? Because they are messengers. So if you're feeling anxious, anxiety comes when you're sensing that you're unsafe. You have to immediately ask yourself, what is making me unsafe? What is making me feel unsafe? It's very important to understand that. So it's very important to understand the meaning of every emotion. You have to know and because each emotion means certain things, right? So what did we first see? We saw that emotions are messengers. They give us feedback. They give us feedback about our environment and about our mental state and what is going on in our mind. Then second, what we saw, the emotions, distressing emotions are meant to be distressing because only then you will get jolted out of whatever you're doing. Third one is each emotion has a meaning, and I enumerated the different emotions and their meaning. Now the fourth one, how do we manage them? Okay, no, one more. Fourth one is that emotions are fairly unpredictable. Not all the time, but many times they are fairly unpredictable. Because think of this example. If you are if you've gone on a cruise to Antarctica or Arctic, you are anchored on your yacht or boat or ship or wherever, and you see an iceberg. Very often in psychology we compare the mind to the iceberg. What you see on the tip is just the iceberg is just the tip of big mountains almost under the ocean. Now sometimes the wind is blowing from east to west, and you may see the iceberg moving from west to east, and you're wondering, why is this happening? That is because very often, not always, but very often, the movement of the iceberg is determined by the current under the ocean, which is stronger than the wind above. Therefore, the environment on the top above, what you can see, does not explain the movement of the iceberg. And you're wondering, why is this happening? Similarly, very often the emotions that we feel and the way the mind reacts, these are influenced by unconscious forces within us, which we are not aware of. So you will suddenly say, I'm sitting in my house, I'm watching, some nice comedy, Big Bang Theory. Why am I suddenly feeling anxious? Okay, if you step back for 5 minutes, you may know why you're suddenly feeling anxious. But if you keep asking why, you don't get an answer. Very often the answer is not available to your immediate conscious understanding. So that is why sometimes you see emotions are completely unpredictable. So, to tell a child or to tell yourself, I should not be feeling angry, I should not feel anxious. These shoulds and must and these rules that we put about what emotions we should feel and how we must react sometimes can be very ridiculous Because 1 minute before I was anxious, I did not know I was going to be anxious. How do you prevent something that cannot be predicted? So the idea is not to control what I feel. The whole idea is to manage whatever I feel. Right? Now let us look at a few more reasons. Now another thing about, so now these are the 4 things. This you understood, these 4? Now we'll move ahead. When we speak about emotional management, we also speak about emotional regulation. That's a technical word used. Emotional regulation. You know, imagine the regulator of a fan. If it only ran on 0 or 5, what will you do? It is of not much use to us. I should be able to increase or decrease the speed depending on my need and the temperature outside. Then that fan is of full utility. Similarly, I should have the capacity, if on a scale of 1 to 10, if my anger is full 10, and I'm sitting in front of my boss, and he's telling me something which is ridiculous, but I'm angry because he is, not trusting me, and I have reached a 10. I cannot afford to, show my rage and anger because that may cost me my job. I have to bring it down to 7. In that 5 minutes, I should be able to soothe myself down. And if I have the self-soothing capacity and bringing it down to 7 is where I can bring it down, and then I can use that gap. I told you between your stimulus and response, there is that gap. In that 1 minute, I should be able to self-soothe. That is called emotional regulation. And suppose somebody is telling you something, let us say your junior has come and told you something very exciting, and you are for some reason very bored on that day. You got out of the wrong side. And now the junior has come with some fantastic idea. You have to show a little excitement. Even whether you feel excited or not, you have to up your scale. You are on 2, you have to bring yourself up to 5 or at least 7. The capacity to do this is very important. Why? Children who cannot do this, or even adults who cannot do this, 2, 3 things happen. They feel too much emotions all the time because you're operating on 0 or 10. Most often it is 10 because 0 is indifference. Indifference is the opposite of every emotion. Opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Opposite of hate is also indifference. Opposite of anger, opposite of every emotion is indifference. Most often we don't feel indifferent. So we feel the other extreme. When you feel so much emotions all the time and you cannot regulate yourself, what happens over a period of time, your distress tolerance comes down. Some people temperamentally have low distress tolerance. When your ability to tolerate emotional distress comes down, what is the next thing that will happen? You will become impulsive. You will not think before you act. Your entire goal will only be to feel good, to feel better. So there are a lot of people who come to the clinic. The minute they feel sad, they forget about everything. They do whatever can be immediately done to feel better. The reason why they are so impulsive is because their distress tolerance is low. And the reason why their distress tolerance is low is because they don't know how to regulate emotions. Once they get dysregulated, they don't know what to do. And we see children do this. We see teenagers do this. So teaching them how to regulate emotion is almost a life skill. It's extremely important. Okay? Now we come to how to do. Any doubts over here? You can put it down in the chat and we will respond. Now, how to do this? Okay. So the first thing, the most important skill in emotional management is becoming aware of your emotions. Okay, or an identifying emotion. See, today, vocabulary for emotion, what people use. I'm feeling terrible, I'm feeling awful, I'm feeling horrible, this is awesome. Nobody knows what this means. Terrible means what? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you scared? Are you disgusted? Because all of this is terrible. Awesome means what? Am I grateful to what you've done? Am I appreciating what you've done? Am I in love with what you've done? What is it? Everything. Samosa was awesome. You can't be in awe of a samosa. So these words that people use for everything is awesome, everything is terrible, everything is awful. People have started using vocabulary to the other extreme because the vocabulary is always 10. it's raining and I'm feeling terrible. You know, when you use these words, you start feeling them. Words are very, very important. So the first thing that you have to teach yourself, and as I said, you have to start with yourself, because there is no management of children without management of yourself. So you have to first learn, improve your emotional vocabulary. So what I will do is, I will send Nilima something called a feel wheel. She will share it in the group, which has got the emotional, different emotions, words, because you know, most of us don't have a good vocabulary for emotion. So I will send you that wheel. So the first thing what the child has to learn to do is identify the emotion. So if you, and you have to start with yourself, if you start feeling bad or you start feeling some emotion, open your phone or print out that feel wheel, go there and ask yourself, what am I experiencing? Suppose you're experiencing the, so first identify the emotion. Okay. Suppose you're experiencing, let us say, anxiety, that is fear. Now we saw, what does fear mean? Fear means something is making me feel unsafe. So I have to ask myself, what is making me feel unsafe? Instead of trying to kill the fear, I have to ask myself, what is making me feel unsafe? Now, sometimes you may not get an answer, sometimes you may get an answer. If you don't get an answer, leave it. Because sometimes, you know, these fire alarms are wrongly set. They unnecessarily ring. Like that, for no reason, you may feel anxious. Some people, they feel gas, there is there in the body, they get palpitations, they say, I'm going to die. After 10 minutes, it becomes better. So these kind of things also happen. So you wait. If you don't get an answer, drop it. Then after, if the emotion keeps on repeating itself, you see a pattern, every day you're feeling anxious at a particular time, or in a very patterned way it comes, then you know this anxiety, this messenger needs to be taken seriously. This is not a wrong setting of a fire alarm. There is a reason why it is ringing. Then you start seriously asking yourself, what is making me feel unsafe? And you start checking out what in your environment, what in your life, what is making you feel unsafe. Sometimes there can be 2-3 emotions. They're not necessarily one emotion. For example, anger is never a primary emotion. Anger very rarely is a primary emotion. Most often it is secondary, meaning what? You are sad about something and that sadness is making you angry. This is so unfair. Why did I lose this person? Why did I lose this job? There's sadness, and that also makes you angry. So there are 2-3 emotions that happen together. So the first thing is identify. Now, how will you do this with children? Okay, because we have to teach children. Now, for you, it is the feel wheel. Small children, nowadays, fortunately, the smiley life has come. You have smileys, no, with different emotions. You can print them out. Print them out and put it somewhere in some board, and tell, the minute your child comes to you crying, or even if your adolescent comes to you crying, ask him to go to that board and say, point out what are you feeling. And if you do this, if you practice this with your child for 2-3 months, after 2-3 months, your child will come to you and say, I am feeling angry. He will not say, I am feeling bad. He will not say, I'm feeling awful or something like that. He will say, I am feeling sad. I am feeling angry. He will know exactly what he is feeling. And the minute you start telling the child, the minute you start labeling an emotion, right, you already feel slightly in control of that emotion, because you know what you are feeling. It is not vague, it's not ambiguous anymore. There is some concreteness around it. You know what you're feeling. You've made it more structured. So you can, with children, you can do that. And for yourself, or if you have adolescent children who understand more, their cognitive capacity is more, there you can print out this feel wheel and put it. And you can tell them, point out which, go there, stand and figure out which emotion you're feeling. Most often they'll be able to do it. So first you do that. Now, after you have identified the emotion, labeled the emotion, what do? Now you have to rate. So understand, you know what, like even in my clinic, all my clients know, they're very used to rating. After some 5 sessions, they'll come and say, they'll say, doc, today anger was 7 out of 10. Then I will even tell them, what does that 7 feel like? They'll say, too much, I want to just slap that person. Then they'll say, what did you do? I brought it to 4. 4 means what? I just walked out. I just told him you're useless and I walked out. That is 4. So they know. that that they know this is how you soothe. So you have to have a rating scale, 1 to 10. 1, so 0 to 10. 0 is indifference and 10 is the extreme of that emotion. So suppose it is anxiety, 0 is indifference and 10 is full panic attack. If it is anger, 0 is indifference, 10 is full rage. Okay, so like, and 3 to 5, 3 to 7, so 5 is in between, then you have 3 and then you have 7, is called the window of tolerance, which is healthy to some extent. This is a healthy, fairly healthy range. So you have to tell them, if you're on 10, idea is not to go to 0 because that is equally unhealthy. We'll figure out how to get you to 7, 6.5. Do you have to teach, you have to learn how to rate your emotion. So start rating them. And then you say, okay, this feels like 9. There's too much of anger, too much of rage. I want to shout and I want to throw something. I'm so angry. I'm beginning to cry. I'm so angry. Sometimes when you're very angry, you start crying. Then you say, how will 6 feel like? 6 will feel like I'm still very irritated, but I think, manage. I can just get out of the house, take a walk, come back irritated. That's what 6 will feel like. So then how to do it? Then we'll come to that later. Now this you can do for adults and adolescents. For children, how will you do? For children, you can ask them, like a thermometer, you can actually draw. I had a parent who had done that. She had drawn a big thing like a thermometer and stuck it on the wall. And she would tell the child, point out where different, and she had this smiley stickers and all of that. So suppose it's anger smiley sticker, then she would say, okay, now this is so the child would choose the anger smiley sticker. Okay, you're angry, place it where? Then the child will place it on 9. How? Then describe 9. The child will say, I'm extremely angry, I want to cry, I want to throw something. Then she'll ask the child, so where do you want to be? You want to feel better? Then she'll say, yes, 6. What can we do to make you feel 6? Children are very creative. They will themselves tell you. You don't have to use your brain. Trust me, they will themselves tell you. Try it once. They'll tell you, they'll give you an idea. I'll give you an example. That I read this example in the internet. So there was this parent. She's of course a psychologist, and she had written this thing about how letting your children. So she said that I had gone to my friend's house, and it was a dinner party, and I had taken my 3-year-old child there. And while coming back, and it was far away, while coming back, we came home around 11 o'clock, and we realized that I have left her favorite blanket, which she keeps at night with herself, in my friend's house. And the minute my daughter realized that the blanket is not with her, she started crying. It was a huge meltdown. The mother said, I completely understand. I cannot allow, we can't go back and get it, but you're feeling bad. It is okay to feel bad. So you feel bad, you cry, you're angry, and tomorrow we will go and get it, but today you're not getting it. And I'm so sorry we did it. And if I were in your place, even I would have felt very bad. So what can we do now? So it seems her daughter said, I want to cry. I said, okay, cry. I want to sit on your lap and cry. She said, okay, cry. Then she allowed the daughter to cry, cry, cry. 10 minutes the daughter cried. So basically the whole momentum was drained out in crying. She just let the daughter cry. Then when the crying stopped, she asked the daughter, what can we do to make you feel a little better to come from 9 to 6? She said, will you sleep with me today? And she said, yes, I will. The matter got sorted. But suppose she had said, why are you crying? Can't you sleep with your blanket one night also? You have to learn. What is this? We can't go. It would not have worked. So children are very, very good at adapting. You just have to teach them these skills and they will figure it out. Okay? Now, the last one. So first, you have taught them how to identify. Second, you have taught them how to rate. Okay? And this will all come with practice. And in the internet also, if you see anger ratings thermometer or barometer, you check all this, you get very interesting images that can be printed out. Different, because they, people do all of this. So there are a lot of interesting images that can be printed out, put in your house. These things can be done. So you can check it out. Then the last is how to express. Now, very important what we do. I think I have spoken about it the last time, but I'll touch upon it. we tend to unknowingly, we tend to invalidate emotions, and others also do it to us. You know, if you go to somebody and tell them I am sad, immediately what they say, there's no need, and they'll give you a list of what all you can do to get rid of your sadness. We are very that kill the messenger culture. Whereas if you go to a psychologist and you say I am sad, or you go to a mental health, any mental health professional and say I'm sad, he or she will ask you, talk to me about your sadness. Neither will they give you, no mental health professional will immediately start listing what you can do to get rid of your sadness. No. They will first try to understand your emotion completely. They will not say you are not supposed to have this emotion. They will not invalidate that emotion. You have to understand, invalidation of an emotion is more painful than the emotion itself. If you invalidate somebody's emotion, you have lost that person. It's hurtful. Technically, nowadays, in this, they call it gaslighting, but I'm not going to use that because that term has got abused by teenagers nowadays. So, but basically what we are saying is invalidation. What is invalidation? I come to you and I tell you I am sad, and you are telling me there's no need to feel sad. Why are you feeling it? So basically you're telling me there's no need to feel what you're feeling. There's something wrong with you. I'm coming and telling you I'm angry. You say, what's there to be angry in the environment? I've not done anything for you to be angry. The problem is with you. Correct. You may be right. You may be right, because there are some people who become very melodramatic and overly emote all the time. So you may be completely right in invalidating them. But at that time telling them that doesn't work. Because whether it is right to feel an emotion or not, the fact is right now the person is feeling it. So instead of telling them, it's like it's already, they have started feeling it. The momentum has already built up. Now instead of telling them don't feel it, all that you can do is teach them how to manage it. And the first step to manage it is not to tell them you're not supposed to feel it. Then they get angry. Have you ever seen it? Whether it is between a child and a parent, or whether it is fights between a spouse. If your spouse is angry, you try telling the spouse there is no need to get angry now. What happens? That X fight will become 2X in a matter of 2 minutes. Already she was angry. On top of it all, you told him or her, now there's no need to get angry. That is the end of your case. You lost the case before you fought it. Never invalidate emotions. If the child is crying, like what this mother did, just let the child cry and then say, okay, chalo, now let's see what to do. What happens when you do all of this? The child stops getting scared of emotions. When you teach someone how to manage their emotions, they feel very secure within themselves. Because what happens if I don't know how to manage my emotion, then I have to manage the world outside me. Because that's the only way I can control my emotions. I have to control everything outside me so that I never feel bad, which is impossible. So then I'm in a permanent state of feeling insecure. Ye ho gaya to, if I feel sad, if I feel anxious. But if I know that I have the skills to manage difficult emotions, then I walk into the world feeling a sense of security that if something goes wrong, I have the skills to manage it within me. It's a tremendous tool that the child will walk into the world with. And this is the reason emotional management is very, very important. I don't have, because of paucity of time, I'm not going to get into this, but those of you who are interested, you can go to YouTube. I think this was in the 1970s. I don't exactly even remember the name of the psychologist. They did something called a marshmallow test in Stanford University, where they gave children marshmallows and they kept them in very boring rooms. So they brought children into these very boring rooms with no stimulus at all. They gave them one marshmallow and they said, if you don't eat it, I'm going out to do something. If you don't eat it, you'll get 2 more by the time I come back. By the time I come back, if you have not eaten this one marshmallow, you'll get the second one. And you should see, they brought about 30 to 40 children. Of course, that video, now they've got simulated that experiment again and they've got it on video. What all children do. Some of them will very stoically not eat it. Some will just lick it and keep it back. Some will just take one small pinch out of it and keep it back. Some put a handkerchief on it so that they don't have to see it only. Some turned the chair and looked the other way. And some, as soon as the lady left the room, they just gobbled it up. And they followed up. This was a longitudinal study. They followed up these people till they were almost 50 years old. And they found out that those who were able to control their impulsivity and tolerate the distress were the ones who were doing very well in life. And the ones who gobbled it up had maximum problems with substance abuse and all other kind of mental disorders. This is a very famous test. You go to YouTube and you will see various simulated versions of it. It's called marshmallow test. And we have seen it. We have seen these temperaments right from childhood. You know, newborn babies, you will see these temperament. If a baby has an anxious personality, I have seen it in my own family. Newborn child, if you don't keep him in exactly the position that he will be crying. So you know from birth only this is a rigid temperament. All the more reason you have to start imparting emotional well-being skills. And some children, you know, when they start crying, they are so dysregulated, they don't know how to stop crying. I don't know as parents if you all have experienced this. What they want has happened. Or they may have lost interest in what they wanted. Why they started crying, they may have forgotten. But they just don't know how to stop crying. They don't know how to regulate. These are children, when they grow up, they will have problem with impulse control. They will have problem with emotional regulation. They will swing from black to white. They will basically have problems in a lot of areas of their life. These are the children right from their childhood, if you are able to catch them and teach them, and it can be taught. So I think as parents, it is one of our primary duties more than anything else today, because the kind of mental health problems that we are seeing, you know, is very different. You know, when I started my practice, which was 27 years ago, I remember we used to see all these major disorders, you know, schizophrenia, OCD, and, you know, all these big things. Now in private clinic, we are seeing people who cannot manage emotions. You know, I used to read up earlier books on how to do CBT with psychosis, how to do CBT with OCD and phobia and panic attack. And now I'm thinking these diagnoses are not there anymore. Then how to do with personality problems. That is 80%, the bulk of clientele is that. And largely this is because also what has happened is impulsivity has increased because frustration tolerance has decreased, and largely it is because of internet. 10 years ago, if I wanted to buy a dress, I had to plan 3 days in advance, go shop to shop. That much of distress I have to tolerate, no? Now I just have to go into some website and click 2 buttons and my dress is out. Right? So I'm going to stop here and we can take questions. But can I have a small, can I just request the team one thing? Unfortunately, today I'm very tied up and I have to be somewhere by 4:15. So if it is possible, we can wrap up the question answer by then. I've already taken too much time. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks, Sunita. We can wrap up by 4:15.
Yeah.
You all can put your questions in the chat. I think they've already started it.
Okay, already started. Could you please provide pointers for the talk today? I didn't understand that question. Whoever is KK, can you ask? I didn't understand the question. Okay, I'm going to go to the next question. How to increase self-confidence in children? I think this is something that we are going to take up the next time. You know, we are going to talk about a particular concept in children. You see, today's talk was also largely based on the Bhagavad Gita and psychology brought together. Next talk will also be based on that. So I will be linking it to Bhagavad Gita in the next talk. I have not linked it today because there was a lot to cover today. I'll be linking it. So I think how to increase concentration in children, this will be taken up in the 4th talk, where we are going to talk about teaching mindfulness practice to children. It can be taught and it works wonders. How does a child with ADHD manage their emotions? Yeah, so for this you need professional help, because children with ADHD find it difficult to regulate their emotions. Also, if somebody is diagnosed with ADHD, I think it's very important that you take them to a psychiatrist a medical professional who will also be able to tell you whether there is need for any medical intervention. Because sometimes, depending upon the age of the child, one may require medical intervention. Once it is ruled out that the child does not need any medical intervention, then you can go to a psychologist who is well versed in intervention with children, and they will teach you. Sometimes even occupational therapy works, but that goes case to case. But you need professional help with that. It is difficult to tell that now, because this is what what I spoke about is extremely generic. For ADHD, there are multiple cognitive deficits associated with ADHD. It's not just about attention. ADHD is not just attention deficit. There are multiple other things. Okay, how to handle, I think, to go a little up. My child has this habit of rubbing her palms together. I think she is anxious. I tried probing her but could not get answers. How do I go ahead? Please take her to a professional, because take her to a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and so that they are able to talk to the child, and they have ways of, mental health professionals know what questions to ask. And also, if you think that your child is anxious, you have to rule out certain conditions, and then after they are ruled out, the professional will be able to decide, depending upon the age of the child, whether what kind of intervention, medical, non-medical, what kind of intervention is needed. Again, I don't understand when you say provide. Also, could you provide any good reference books on emotions and emotional management? I will think about it, look back and let you know. One second. Can you just hold on?
Points, I mean the points that you mentioned, ma'am, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
Can you repeat yourself?
By the key points, I meant mentioned so steps, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So that's what I meant by the key points.
Yeah, I think it will be there.
Yeah, I'll put it on the chat, or we will be sharing the audio recording of the talk. You can again go through it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, I did cover how to express, basically telling that let the child express rather than, invalidating the child's, because each child will express their emotion differently. And I think in this how to express, what is important is last time we spoke about authoritative parenting style, where we very clearly said that there should be some very clear rules where the child is not allowed to be violent, not allowed to throw around things. So parents who have an authoritative parenting style, they will definitely allow their children to express the emotions, but they are not going to allow them to just do whatever they want in the name of expression. Can you just give me 1 second? Let me just come back. Both your fingers. Huh. Okay, then the question is, if a child is indifferent, how to regulate emotions? You'll have to take it case by case. If the child is indifferent, most often I think what it means that the child is disinterested. I think if a child is disinterested, you can't force somebody to be interested. We also have to remember each child is going to come with his or her own personality and his or her own aptitude. Just because I like something, that doesn't mean the child has to like that. It doesn't mean. So I think I'm going to first ask you to think whether you're talking about indifference or disinterest, because it may be disinterest. Okay, I'm trying to learn how to go up. Just give me a second. Huh? No, this is a... Okay. Okay. So I think we've covered most of it. Nilima, is there anything left? Oh yeah, there are new messages.
How to handle anger and
1 second.
child.
Okay, how to handle a child who is angry often, and grandparents are enjoying and encouraging the little guy is being angry. They think it is cute. Secondly, please tell me if No Drama Discipline is a good book. I don't know. I've never heard of No Drama Discipline, so I don't know. And I'm very careful about advocating self-help books. You have to be, when you pick up a self-help book, please be careful that you know who the author is and what kind of work the author has done. The author has to be a mental health professional, or at least must have some knowledge and some information on mental health. So I don't know. I haven't heard about No Drama at all. And up about, I think with grandparents, it's very tricky, but it's very important to create a certain sense of boundary, and parents have to do it without disrespecting the grandparents. So it has to be a very well planned thing that has to be said in a very respectful manner, where you're telling the grandparent that this behavior is not good, it's not cute, do not encourage it. Grandparents will still do it, so you have to consistently tell them not to encourage it. And so you will have to just create a boundary where you are the rule makers and your parents will have to follow your rules. It will take some time because in India these boundaries are sometimes very blurred. So it will take a lot of practice and planning to work around that. Can my 10-year-old daughter sit with me for the next session? No, she cannot. Then when children try to mimic authoritativeness, how do we deal with this? I think I will want to, maybe you can put it in the group what you exactly mean when you say mimic. Are they just copying what you're saying? That's okay, let them do it. See, what is important is, don't get into an ego battle with your children. You'll never win that. Your children are going to use you, they are going to mock you, they are going to tease you, they're going to do a lot of these things. And sometimes parents get very scared that they are losing their authority. No, you're not losing your authority. And sometimes children, as they grow up, when they come closer to teens, and nowadays I think 10-year-old only teenagers started, they will do everything to defy you and test you. Teenagers are known to test their patience. They do all these tricky things. They will test you to see how you respond. If you are comfortable and confident in your authority, then you're not going to wait for your child to validate that you are an authority. And how do you establish your authority? You have to consistently show them that there will be consequences for their behavior, and you are the one dispensing that consequences, and they don't have a choice in that. If you show it in action, they may continue to mimic you, but they know when to start taking you seriously. The point is, we punish. We will say, I will take away remote, which has no consequences. I mean, that's like, how does it make a difference to the child? It has to be consequences which matter. I think the up. No, I want to see the new ones. Yeah, this is, I think, done. Which is a village near Kolhapur, which teaches. Oh yeah, I have forgotten to mention that. Please give me another 2-3 days, and I will get back to you. My apologies, I forgot about that. Give me 2-3 days, I'll get back. My child doesn't complete the given task, instead starts doing other before the one given to him is complete, leaves things incomplete. If this is a chronic problem and it has been there and it is coming in the way of school performance and other important activities in his life, then I think you need to take him to a professional to find out why is he doing it, because this may require professional intervention if it is coming in the way of his academic performance. It's important. Anything else, or we are done? Yeah, I think it's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of Chinmaya Mission Mumbai, I will like to thank Dr. Sunita Shankar for a very informative talk on emotional management, which is part 1 of helping children develop mental well-being skills. I also want to thank all the Sevaks of Chinmaya Setukari Wing for organizing this session, and all of you who are present here. Now I have a few announcements. As we are approaching Navratri, all centers of Chinmaya Mission, they are planning various programs. So one of them is with Swami Swatmanandaji. That program is for Shishu Vihar and Junior Bal Vihar kids of age 3 to 8, and it is in Matunga region. Venue is Sri Gujarati Seva Mandal. So this will be in the evening on 18th of October. At the same time, we are having Mahalakshmi temple in Chinmaya Mission Khargar, and during Navratri, every day there will be some programs which are organized in this session in Mahalakshmi temple. So we are having different programs on various occasions. On there is Lalita Sahasranam Archana, which is on Friday, 20th of October in the evening from 4 to 5:30. Then Matru Puja is there on 21st October, Saturday, from 4:30 to 5:30. Then Chandika Havan is there on Sunday, 22nd October, from 7:30 a.m. onwards. And there is Nagar Parikrama of Lakshmi Mataji on Monday, 23rd of October, from 6:30 p.m. onwards. After that, there will be Dandiya Ras also. Then on Dasara day, we are having Vidyarambha Puja on 24th of October. And after that, there will be Navadravya Abhishek, which is it's like Mahalakshmi Mata will be having this Navadravya Abhishek, and after that there will be a puja and then Mahaprasad. So I will like to invite all of you for all these programs. There will be a few more also. We'll post the pamphlets in the group for those programs. Also, we are having this Chinmaya Koti Nama Japa Yagya. So all of us have decided to have this Koti Japa, and you also can participate in that. The Japa days are started from 3rd of August, and it is there till 8th of May. And you can also register for it. We'll also post this pamphlet in the group. Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Om
Shall we do the closing prayers, Nilima?
closing prayers. Yeah.
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ॐ. Thank you, everyone.